All right, we have two presenters today. First, we have Catherine Thomas, our Customer Care Manager, and she will be followed by Keaton Gerard, our Customer Care Rep. On the agenda today, we will be talking about creating a simple experience for your end users, easily training your end users, and finally, keeping your technicians and end users in the loop regarding their tickets. So with that being said, I will now turn the time over to Catherine.
Thanks, Jen. I just need to share my screen. Hold on just a second. Can you see that okay, Jen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So one of the first things I'm going to cover is just how to make filling out the ticket simpler for your end users. I think a lot of end users think that it takes too much time to do it, so they might just give you a call instead. If you're not using the email to ticket feature, that would be the first thing that I would suggest, and that's just where they can send you an email or send an email to a certain address, and it's just converted right into a ticket. Now, if you route things by categories or category options, then you would probably need them to log in and actually fill that out. But the things I'm going to show you today are going to be maybe if you don't route that way, or if you would like to just route them to a ticket pool and then have a technician actually go in and make those assignments. So I'm actually logged in as the admin user because a lot of these things I'm going to talk about are going to take place in the permission model. And it's just basically taking things off of the ticket so that the end user can fill it out quicker. So let's see. In the permission model, I have a whole bunch of different groups set up here, but I'm just going to go in and edit this one. The one that we're going to work with is called New IT. And if you notice towards the bottom, well, kind of from view contact down, these are all of the things that end users will see on the tickets. And so you can come in here and manipulate this to where they only basically have to fill out the subject area and the note, or the note, and just, that's it. Click submit and they're done. So right here is one, let's see, let me find it. View category and change category. If you are a customer that routes things to a ticket pool and maybe you don't want your end users to select a category or category option, you can just take that right off of the ticket. Now, just changing it, by clicking the plus sign right here, we're going to see two options, users and roles. And when I double click on roles, I can see that this is currently set to the user. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this to technician. And what that will do is make it so the user doesn't view the category, but the technician can view it. And then therefore your technicians can go in and still categorize those tickets for their own purposes or for reporting purposes for managers as well. So I'm going to do that on the change category too. We're just going to select technician there. And so basically the category and category option just becomes something that a technician or a manager uses. So I'm going to do this on the category option as well so that I can show you what it will look like for your end user. Now, another thing that you can do that goes along with this is you can take off the assignment for the end user to view the assignment. If you're not letting them change the assignment and it's all going to the ticket pool anyway, you can just take that right off of the ticket and then they don't worry about it. And so that's up here at the top. Change assignment is already set to technician. I know we don't want end users to be changing that and just selecting whoever they want. And this view assignment, I have that set to technician already as well. And so that assignment field won't even be on the ticket either. I mean, you could take this to an extreme and you could take basically everything off there except for the one thing that they need to fill out as far as what's going on with the issue that they're submitting. You can take off the priority. A lot of end users put in a ticket, and of course it's an urgent, high system down priority, even though it's something very small and they're still functioning, they're still working. So you can take that priority off, and so they don't see that they've submitted a ticket and you have set it to a low priority. The status is something that I would leave on just so that if you're changing or updating the status, the end user, you can train them to log in, look at the ticket to see where the status is at, rather than picking up the phone and calling the IT department and asking those questions so that they can kind of take that upon themselves. So now that I've made those changes, I'm just going to log in as a user. And there is one thing, we do have a version coming out in about the next week and a half, and there's a change that we made, and you'll see it on here as soon as I go to submit a ticket. So I'm logged in as the user, and I'm going to click New Ticket. Now, I don't know if any of you noticed, but I didn't have to select a group here. The change that's in the next version is if you only have one active group, it's going to automatically default that group for you. And so that's going to be a simpler step for the user. And to be honest, I didn't realize that it was going to be such a neat feature until it happened, because I thought, well, clicking wasn't that big of a deal. But then when I tested this, I was pretty much amazed. I thought it was great. But if you notice, under ticket info, that is where normally our category option, assignment, it looks like I did take off the priority and the status because that would be listed under the ticket info as well. So basically, if the end user's location is set, then that's going to automatically fill in for them. If it's not set, all they would have to do is select a location and enter a subject and possibly a note if they needed to enter more of a description, and then they're just going to click simply submit that. Now, if you notice, we also did change this button. This button used to just say Save Changes. So on the initial submission of the ticket, it'll say Submit, and then as soon as I submit that, oh, well, I need a subject. As soon as I submit that, you'll notice the button changes to Save Changes, just so that it's a little less confusing to the end user so that they know that they're actually submitting a ticket. And once that's went through, most probably don't notice that there's a ticket number up here, but they will notice the Save Successful and the Save Changes, and so they know that it's been submitted. So after that, if they need to come in here and maybe add a comment to talk to the technician, then they'll just be saving those changes and updating that ticket. So I'm just going to go ahead and close that out. As far as searching or filters go, you can go ahead and train your end users on how to find their tickets, or you can go ahead and train them on how to create these custom tabs. I'm sure that all of you know how to do that. As technicians, I know that we set up a lot of those tabs just to make the sorting easier. But there's two things here, and if this is the route you don't want to go with end users, they can see all of the tickets that are owned by me by default. And these are all open tickets. So these are any open tickets that they've submitted. And then under my closed tickets, it's going to show any tickets that they've submitted that are now closed. But let's say you have an end user that might float between two locations. And so they might want to separate all of their tickets at one location versus the other. And so in order to do that, we would just go ahead and set up a filter. And it looks like I have a few, but we're just going to go ahead and create one at a certain location. And so one of the locations that I have in here is Denver. And so I'm just going to choose location and obviously select Denver. And so it's going to show me any tickets that are at that particular location. And of course, I can go further and say, I only want to see open tickets. The closed tickets I'm not too worried about. So I'm going to select status, and then I'm going to choose not equals just because it's less selections here. So anything that does not equal, and I've changed a bunch of these for testing, closed. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that filter. So as an end user, I can come in here and run that filter and see all of my own tickets that are at that location. But I can also set up this custom tab. And so back here on the My Tickets screen, if I click the pencil and then click to Add Tab, it's going to ask me which filter I want to use. And I'm going to go ahead and select Denver. Now it's going to automatically name the tab the exact same thing that I named the filter. And that's fine, or you can change it if you would like. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. So now I have this tab called Denver, and it's going to show any of the open tickets that are tied to that location. So that is something that if your users are in here a lot or they're submitting a lot of tickets, then they might want to set up those custom tabs just so that they can find things quicker. Now, if you notice, this was 18 tickets and this took 11 of them, but they didn't subtract them from the owned by me. And it's just because that filter is only showing open tickets owned by this person. And so if they want that to change, you can delete that filter altogether if you're going to set up other tabs for different locations, or you can just go ahead and keep it there and everything that they've submitted will be under this selection here. Now, if you do have end users that are complaining about not being able to see certain items when they're looking here at their tab, like let's say they want to look at something that is on the ticket and they want to see it on this screen, so they don't have to come into the ticket and click here to edit so that they can view information. And that's going to be on creating these filters itself. So I'm going to look at that Denver filter. Probably should have went over this a minute ago, but right here on the right-hand side, this is what's going to be displayed, and this is the order it's going to be displayed in. So priority is going to be on the far left-hand side, and then created date is going to be on the far right-hand side. Now, one that I like to see when I log in is I like to see the modified date. I like to see when the last time a note was made on that ticket, and so I'm going to select modified date and then click the plus sign here, and it's going to add it here at the bottom. But if I don't like this order, and let's say I want to view it in a different order, I can just simply drag and drop and move that modified date to whichever column I want to view it in. So if they're looking at things and they're not getting the information that they are wanting just from that quick view, you can alter that information here. Like the location, they probably don't need to see the location because they know where they're at. That's more for a technician. You can take that stuff off, and so it just narrows down what they're looking at. And hopefully with that snapshot on my tickets, they're seeing all of the information that they need to. Unless they need to read a note or make a comment, then they might not even need to click into it. So, and then all of you probably know, but if you don't, when they do a search, like I said, I don't see a big need for end users to do a search because they can only search for tickets that they have submitted themselves. You know, even though they have a custom tab named Denver, which is their location, they're still only going to see tickets that they've submitted under that location. They're not going to be able to see all tickets there. And so when doing a search or creating a filter, it's just going to pull their own tickets and nothing further. So that's all that I had to show you. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jen, and I think Keaton has some things on the agenda for us. Jen, are you there?
All right, yeah, let me go ahead and just change Keaton to the presenter. All
right, Jen, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. All right, everybody, I'm going to log in as an admin. I've got a couple tricks to show you today just to make things easier for the end users, and in the end, it's going to really make things easier for you because hopefully the things we're showing you today are going to make it so you don't have as much to deal with as far as phone calls and being stopped in the hallway, asked for status updates. The things I'm going to show you today are all about keeping the end users in the loop and making sure that their issues aren't forgotten about. So, with that being said, I'm going to start with making sure their issues aren't forgotten about with auto escalation. I'm sure that we've all been in this situation where we've just had a ticket or an email fall through the cracks. No matter how hard we try, it seems to just happen. There's one that we might forget about. I know that, and we probably all know that sometimes you just get really, really busy, and certain things can be forgotten about. And so I'm going to go into the settings and then click on the scheduler. And I already have an auto escalation schedule set up, but I'm going to show you how to create one. And this can be so helpful if you do experience times of increased workload where you get really, really busy. The scheduler for auto escalation could be a great tool to utilize. So I'm going to name this new schedule Auto Escalation. And the point with this is going to be to make sure that any tickets aren't forgotten about. And so I'm not going to select a category and category option because I want every single category and category option to be selected. And that's how we do that. And so in the status, I'm going to click Awaiting Dispatch, Priority Low. That's assuming that that's how it's set up that your tickets are coming in. When somebody submits a ticket, it automatically sets the status to Awaiting Dispatch with a low priority. So the scheduler will let us set a time. And so let's just say here 2 days from the created date. I'm going to enter in that time, and so it's going to say, okay, a ticket comes in, if it's set to awaiting dispatch with a low priority, 2 days after it is created, I'm going to change the priority. As soon as I click that box, this will pop up allowing me to select what priority I'd like to change it to. In this situation, I'll say, all right, let's bump it up to medium. We're also going to send an email to the ticket assignee with a message. Ticket has been idle for 2 days. And just for fun, let's CC the manager. So the manager does get an email, as well as the ticket assignee, letting them know that the ticket's been sitting there for 2 days. Subject, auto escalation of ticket. You can set these to whatever you want. And then, just in case we don't see it, it's going to repeat. And we can set it, maybe it's going to repeat once a day. And so we have this schedule set up. If tickets come in and they're awaiting dispatch for 2 days, it's going to automatically bump their priority up to medium, and it's going to send us an email letting us know that, hey, this ticket's fallen through the cracks. It hasn't been touched for a couple days, and maybe we want to change that to something more. Maybe your SLA is we want to get to everything in 5 business days. It's in there in 5 days. We can really do whatever we'd like with this, but this is going to ensure that our tickets don't fall through the cracks and that no ticket will be forgotten about. It's going to bump up that priority. And on top of this, we could set up more schedules saying, all right, if it sits at medium for another couple of days, it's going to bump it up to critical, or it's going to bump it up to high, and we can save those changes. Now, I already have one here, so I'm not going to save that. That's what it looks like. So that's auto escalation. It's going to really ensure that your SLAs are upheld and that nothing's going to fall through the cracks. And not only is it going to bump up those priorities, it's also going to send us emails to let us know what it's doing. And here's some other examples of great ways you can use the scheduler to benefit the end user. Let's take a look at this one. This is one I've set up, Resolve Tickets. And this is an interesting one. It's going to say that, all right, when we change the status of a ticket to resolved, so the modified date is set to 5 minutes. 5 minutes after it's changed to resolved, this is what it's going to do. It's going to send an email to the ticket contact. The subject is going to be the ticket ID number, and it says, the status of this ticket has been changed to resolved. Do you have any more problems or issues regarding this that we can help you with? If not, this ticket will be changed to close in 3 days. Please respond to this ticket or contact support at this number with any questions you might have. Thank you for using the support system. And it's going to do it once, 5 minutes after we change it to resolved. This is a great way to let the end user know, hey, we think we've wrapped up the ticket. We think we've solved the problems. And so it's going to send them an email. Do you have anything else to bring up? Do you have any more questions, concerns? And so it's just a great way to let them know, we're going to change this to close unless you have anything else. And that way we kind of avoid opening up more tickets after we've thought we've closed them by, ensuring that the end user is satisfied with whatever we've done. One more quick example is this is just the other schedule that would have to do with that previous one. After we've changed it to resolved, and remember that email said, please contact us within 3 days. After 3 days have gone by, it will automatically change the status to closed. So those are some good examples of how you can use the scheduler to ensure that your SLAs are upheld and that your end users' issues aren't forgotten about. One other thing I'm going to show you today, we're going to go into the mail setup. Now, for outgoing mail, you see it's all set up here so that when tickets change, it's going to notify the technician, the user, and it's going to have the ticket link on the email notification. This is just a great feature that's built into the help desk that makes it so much easier for us to keep in contact with the people who sent us tickets. These 3 boxes right here, the top 2 are going to make it so when you pull up a ticket, they're defaulted to whatever is set here. Because these boxes, the notify technician and notify user boxes, will be in the ticket, and you can change them depending on the nature of the ticket, but these are going to set the defaults. This box is very important. Send ticket link on email notification. That's a great tool to use in case, when you send them an email, let's say right here, you can view the ticket. There'll be a link on the bottom that says view ticket. They can click it, log in, and the ticket will be right there for them to view and make changes if they so desire. And that box is only right here. And so, that being said, we're going to make sure those changes are saved. I'm going to sign in as a tech. I'm going to pull up a ticket. And let's change the priority to medium. Just as an example, click Save Changes. You see right here, it's going to come up with the email that's going to be sent to them. Subject, priority, changed. Oh. And it'll let us put a note in here. This is just a good little thing that pops up. I mean, I know that it's not going to be necessary every time you change a ticket, but it does give you that chance to send a quick message to the end user, even if it's just something like, we're starting to work on this, or hey, I just saw this ticket, and we'll get to work right on it. We'll try to figure it out for you. I mean, just something to let them know that you're working on their problem and that everything's going okay. These notification boxes, again, I'm the technician in this case, so that's why this box isn't checked. But the user box is checked, so it will notify them. The notes can also be just for your own reference to what you've done and why you've changed statuses, and then you can also change if you want to CC somebody. And the option's always there to not put in those comments. If you do notify the user, whatever you put in here will be sent to them. If they respond to that email, the ticket will automatically be updated with those comments, and you will receive an email with those updates. So by doing this and entering these comments and automatically having the Everything Help Desk send notifications to these users, it's an easy way for us to keep them in the loop of what we're doing with their tickets. If we change a status, if we change a priority, when we've solved the problem, it'll automatically let them know for us, and that can be a great tool so that people aren't constantly contacting the technicians asking for status updates. They're automatically getting status updates as we update tickets. All right, hope this has been helpful for you. This time, I'm going to turn it back over to Jen.
All right. Thank you, Keaton and Catherine. That was great. We have now come to the Q&A session of the webinar. So if you have any questions in mind, you can go ahead and type those in the Q&A box, and we will start answering those. So we'll just take a couple minutes to give you some time to type those in.
Okay, this is Catherine. We had a question from Janine Dwiggins about, well, what it says is if you have mandatory fields set up for tickets, will removing the user role cause any problems for the user if they cannot see the mandatory fields, or do we need to remove the mandatory status first? And so what I did is when you go into the permission model, the fields that we require are location, subject, priority status, and assignment. If you take those out of the view of the end user, then we'll just put a default in there. So like for example, if you take the subject away to where they don't enter a subject and they just have to enter their information into the note area, what it will say when the technician sees it is no subject provided, which is okay, and we can leave it that way, or the technician can enter something in there. As far as the priority and the status, we already have a default set. Most come in at a low priority unless you change that. And then the status will come in depending on how the ticket is routed. For example, if it goes to the ticket pool, the status is awaiting dispatch. And these are defaults. You could have changed these as well. But if it's routed to a certain person, then the status could be something else. But you can take all of those required fields out of the view of the end user, and it won't cause a problem. The only thing that will remain required on a ticket is a custom field. If you add a custom field and you set that custom field to be required, there's no roles as far as technician or user or manager that apply to a custom field because you're applying it to a group or a category option. So that is one item that if you have made that required, then it won't matter what you change as far as the user role status. And it looks like Bill has asked a question. He says that he's on 10.0.5 and he can see that 10.1.1 is what is currently available. The version that I am showing today that had the group automatically default, that is actually version 10.1.2. We have uploaded that to our support site, and we're just in our last week of testing, and then that will be released, and that will be the latest version. But as far as what I've shown you today, that's the only difference that you're going to see in what I've shown you is that if you're in a version prior to 10.1.2, that group just will not default, and your end user would have to select it. Okay, and it looks like somebody else asked, is there a way for end users to close their own tickets? They can certainly close their own tickets. That is, you would just have to give them the rights to the status, to change the status. And so what would happen is they might submit a ticket and, you know, whatever the status comes across to the technician. If there are times when they are solving their own problems, if that's happening more often than not, then they can log back into the ticket and change the status to closed. So yes, you will just have to give them the rights to do so. And again, that would be in the permission model. And what you would look for is change status and make sure that that is set to user. Because change status is something that is set to by default, it's set to the technician. So that's probably where yours is set now. So Tori, if you have any other further questions, you can give me a call. We can go over that. Okay, another question from Mason. He says, do you have to create end user accounts and give them roles? We use single sign-on to log in. And the answer to that is no. As soon as, if you're using single sign-on and you have integrated with LDAP, when they log in, it automatically creates that user role for them.
All right, thank you for your questions. I think we've gotten to most of them. If anything else comes up, if any other questions come to mind, we will continue to answer those. So just stay logged in and keep an eye out for those answers. We want to thank you for joining us, and we want to remind you to connect with us. We are now on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. So thank you everyone for joining us. We hope you all have a wonderful day.